Okay, Leo. So did you understand what's the meaning of pulling?
Well, after you explained it, yeah.
Okay. So which one is more efficient, Leo, using interrupt or pulling?
Oh, would it be interrupts?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yes, you are correct. So let me go first through this answer. So one of the functions that is used by the operating system, especially in a smart building, so we manage peripherals and we manage the memory and we do the resource allocation. So um, there is a lot of operation that is done in the memory, and the one that controls that is actually the operating system. Everything connected to the hardware device. Um, let's say it's a keyboard that people key in some values to do the setting or the delays. So that is also handled by the operating system. Okay, and there is many other operations. So, and here I think you already answered that correctly. You either using interrupt um, or even pulling. So may I know what happens inside the system once the operating system sees that there is an interrupt?
Sorry, could you repeat it? The audio cut off for a second.
So what I am trying to tell you now is that when a processor receives an interrupt,
Yes.
what is done inside it? What is um, I mean, first, is the interrupt handled by the operating system or the processor? Or and what is the effect of the operations of the processor when there is an interrupt received?
The interrupts handled by the operating system.
Okay, perfect. And what will
Oh
happen
well,
to
the
the processor?
oh well, what it does is it like puts like one task on priority and like stops all the other ones for the moment. So within the processor, how that would work is that uh well, I'd assume that it would put like that specific task like at the forefront.
Okay. And so, okay, now if I want to ask you, will the keyboard and the mouse be giving a high priority on the interrupt in the normal computer?
On a normal computer,
Yes.
well, because keyboard and mouse they're quite frequently used, they do have quite high priority.
Not only that, but they give it a high priority for a high reason. They want to entertain the user. They don't want the user to think that the system hang. This hanging of the system, actually, we don't see it recently in the current operating system, but a long time ago, we don't really have high memory. Like 20 years ago, we didn't have high RAM and high hard disk and high processors, high-end processors like now. And so what typically happens if you try to move big files from one place to another inside your hard disk? You will find that the operation of the whole computer actually is totally degraded. So if you want to move the mouse, you find the mouse moving very slowly. If you would like to type a document while you are copying some files, you will find that sometimes there's a delay. When you press a character on the keyboard, maybe it doesn't come out or it come out late. Okay, so this kind of operations also you can see it clearly if you run your antivirus scanning while you are doing some kind of operation, even surfing the internet or even writing a text on the keyboard, that will get affected. So because the antivirus took a higher priority than the keyboard and the mouse in this case. And so what they want is that they want to make the customer happy. So they want to make the user happy. So it is always common and it's always said that if you are copying files or doing an important operation, don't try to move the mouse a lot or don't try to use the keyboard a lot, because that will disturb the operations that you are trying to do and it will take longer time to finish. Because they give high priority to the keyboard and mouse to entertain the user, to make the user happy, to make the user don't think that the computer hang. You don't see this hanging thing now, but previously in 20 years ago, the computer was not so high end and it do hang, and it appears that it is having a slow response to the mouse and the keyboard. Did I make myself clear?
Yes.
Okay, so explain why transforming the building into a smart building will be beneficial for the company.
Oh, well, turning the building into a, smart building means that less things have to be done manually uh, by people there because of the automation provided, uh, which uh, which can provide a more comfortable work environment.
Okay, and that is good, but always remember cost saving. Your answer is correct. So as you see here, energy saving, and typically, let me see where they mention the cost saving. So I can see it here perfectly, but energy saving and cost saving, better you always include it inside your answers. So there is energy saving, there is productivity gains, for example, reducing heating costs, uh, what to say, improve the building operation, like what you mentioned, support sustainability, enhance decision making. Do you know why automation can enhance decision making across the organization?
No, I'm not sure.
So typically, if we have a lot of sensors that is distributed among the big organization that have many different places around, scattered around the company, and we are trying to, for example, to control the heating and the lighting. So definitely we will have sensors that measure the temperature, and we will have also sensors measuring the lighting, um, and many other things that we are able to control. We are also able to control the hot water flow through the whole building. So when we employ a good smart building system, that will give us a report, a monthly report, or even a yearly report that can tell us, okay, during which time to which time we operate at which temperature, and maybe if we reduce maybe some kind of temperature while there is no employee uh, staying in certain places in the company, or certain rooms inside the company. So maybe we are able to have some energy savings. So we are able to compare that energy saving and cost saving by measuring the electricity consumption, for example, when we try different operations, and then we are able to compare it from 1 month to another. So that a smart building system can give us report, and we can compare that reports to the energy savings that we have, the electricity saving. So we are able to actually take a proper decisions on how to improve the efficiency of the operation, at the same time reduce the payment or the amount of money that we pay to maintain the building heating, for example, the building temperature, or even the lighting. Maybe it is possible that we can start to dim the light if there is no operation in a corridor for 5 minutes. So when the light dim, definitely we will be able to save electricity. And this saving electricity are able actually to get, there is some sensors that can measure that electricity consumption, and it can be recorded. So we are able to see, okay, if we set a timer to dim the light every 5 minutes, what how much we manage to save in electricity per year, and we are able to take proper decisions based on that. Should we increase the timer? Should we decrease it? So maybe we take a decision to actually dim the light after 2 minutes, not only 5 minutes. Maybe we can see, okay, there is an energy saving or money saving if we do that decision or not. So based on that, we are able to take to enhance the decision making. Did that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that is interesting here. But let me, I don't want to talk about that before I finish talking about series here. Let me, there is many things that is actually part of um, part of the network or the topic network that is doesn't come in the exam questions. But of course, we cannot cut the chances that there is exam questions that come about that. So what is a network?
And just like the definition of a network
Yes, yes. What is a network?
was
And why
just
we need it?
so I mean a network is just like a group of systems and devices that are connected together.
Through a communication channel, okay. And why we need to use networks?
In order to effectively transfer data between devices
Okay,
and systems. I mean, yeah.
so imagine, Leo, we have an office of 10 people. And if we don't have a network system there, you will find that you have to buy a printer for every employee that you have. Okay. Um, but if you have a network in place and all the computers is connected to one network, so it means that we are able to buy one network printer that able to handle all the requests from or all the printing requests and orders from all the employees. Does this make sense? Does this that
Yes.
so if imagine that, okay, I will buy a printer that costs 300 to 400 Malaysian ringgit for every employee, or I buy one network printer that costs maybe 1,000 ringgit. So which one is more saving electricity and power and even resources? Definitely buying one network printer, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's one thing. A second thing is that when you're having a network, you are able to control first the amount of effort to share data, like what you mentioned now, is less. You're able to transfer files, which is a faster way. You are able to so if you have a network, you don't, if you want to connect that whole network, people working on this network into internet, you cost less money. So this is a kind of resource sharing also is possible. And if you want to do some installation on all the computer is also possible. So if you have a proper server and a correct or a good network administrator, he's able to install Windows on one or all the computers at the same time in an automated way, just by writing a proper script on the server. So for every network, normally we have a server. The server is a higher end computing system that have typically a network operating system, not the normal operating system that we're having. Um, so that can be different type of Windows that is designed for this kind of operations. And this kind of operation can even control the login of the employees. So maybe the network administrator can decide through the server who can log in at which time. So if the employees working time is from 8 to 5, so it means that they are only allowed to log into their computers from 8 to 5. So this is kind of operation, an installation of software, or even allowing USB connections or not is also controlled by the network administrator. If you have no network, it means that the person doing this kind of operation have to go from one PC to another to do that kind of operation, and that's time consuming. So that is what network offer to you. Okay, what is a LAN and why a LAN is actually different from something called WAN?
Uh, well, first of all, the difference between LAN and WAN is that a WAN covers a far larger geographical area. So a local area network, which is what LAN stands for, uh, generally covers a smaller geographical area and typically makes use of physical connections through Ethernet.
Excellent. Yes, it can be a LAN, can be Ethernet, and can be a wireless. It can be wireless. Also, there is no worries. We still can call this a LAN, except that in some terms, when we are having a wireless network, we can say WLAN. We can call it a WLAN like that. Okay. Um, so yes, an example of LAN is a school or a small office building, or even in a home. If you're having 3 or 4 computers connected through a switch in a home, so this is a LAN. Okay, and okay, let me see what other. So when it is true that it is a group of LANs that is connected together, but on a wider um, a wider geographical area. Uh, can we say that the internet is a WAN?
Uh,
Yes or no?
yes, you could, yes.
Okay, so WAN also the connecting medium can be fiber optic cables or even wireless connection or microwave or even satellite. So that is possible for the WAN. Okay, so like simple example. So this is a simple LAN that is connecting computers inside one house. A WAN that is connected a lot of houses together. Okay, and then okay, and that is a simple comparison. Um, so like I told you, don't say that LAN is only wired. It can be also wireless. When we can use fiber optic, microwave, or even satellite communication. Um, a WAN can be a corporate network. You know what's the meaning corporate? I think you studied something similar to corporate systems, corporate legacy systems. Do you know what's the meaning corporate?
A corporate, so within like a company.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay. So what is a VLAN?
A VLAN, so virtual local area network.
Yes, perfect guess. Is it a guess or you know it?
No, I know the term, yeah.
Okay, okay. So do you know what is a VLAN?
So it's like a local area, it's like a local area network, except it doesn't actually have to like be within like the same geographical area.
Um, okay. So let me redefine that. You have some knowledge, okay? So inside a company, we can have different LANs and we can separate LANs together. So that there is could be a LAN for the IT people, a LAN for the HR people, a LAN for the sales. Why we need to separate people in the same company into different LANs? Because of the resources sharing and as a security measure. So when we separate people in virtual LANs, it means that although they could be connecting with the same wires, so you see this maybe just the same switch. We are using the same switch and the wires, and they can be even sitting together. Okay, but we separate them in the connections, and then they cannot see or even share the resources together. HR have secret documents that should not be shared with IT people and salespeople. Salespeople information should not be shared, or even contracts with the clients that should not be shared with the HR people. Do you understand why we need to separate people on a virtual LAN? Yes, they could be sitting together on nearby desks, but the resources should not be shared between them. Documents and information should be segregated, should be separate between different departments. So that's why we use virtual LANs. And it's really common in companies. Okay, so that's a virtual LAN. So they say it's a logical grouping of devices. So you're using the same physical LAN, they are using same switches, but it's a logical grouping. It is some kind of feature inside advanced switches that is able to do this kind of grouping. So if you ever see a switch before, typically advanced network switches can have up to 20 or 30 ports, so it can connect to up to 30 computers at that device. So I can say, okay, port 1, port 2, and port 3 is one VLAN, VLAN 1, and maybe this 3 here go to VLAN 2, and so on. So that is possible with a good network network switch. Okay, let me see here. Okay, are you able to define the internet?
The internet is a system of networks that's connected around the world wirelessly.
Okay, yeah, okay. They even can connect using
it can be a
wireless
physical as well.
satellites.
Yeah.
Yes, and the most important, it uses TCP/IP protocols. This is what operates the internet. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, what is the difference between internet and www?
So the internet is like it's like the network of networks, while the World Wide Web is like the service that runs like using the internet.
No, let me clarify that to you. Internet, um, there is many services that is yes, the definition that you mentioned is correct somehow, but internet services is more wide. We are able to send mail. We are able to serve web. We are able to do streaming of videos. We are able to have text services. Okay, we are able to have something called FTP, which is a file transfer protocol for transferring big files from one place to another. But the www is actually concerned with web pages. So web pages is actually websites that have URL. Oops, I reached the end here. So URL is like youtube.com. So this is a URL. So websites is places, files, possibly built using HTML and other programming languages, and it is hosted on web servers. And we call that www, World Wide Web. And did I make myself clear?
Yes.
And it differs from mail and FTP and other services. So internet is a big definition for everything, including the www. Did I make myself clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what is an extranet?
An extranet is a
Look at
private
here.
network. Yeah.
Look here.
Yeah. So an extranet is a network that like Well, it says it on the slide as well, but it's controlled access. So different people have like different access of different levels of like access.
So yes, so imagine that this is a company that have a website. It have internal employees, and there is partners to that company that are allowed to enter only certain limited areas inside the website. So if a company have system that have sales, that have HR and other information that is as a system that is operating inside the company, the employees work on that systems to record the data or even to retrieve data. Uh, they only allow their partners to see certain information only. And this certain information is secured by a login credentials for entry. Are you following up with me?
Yes.
Okay, so those partners that are allowed to enter, there could be a company, other companies that this first company, company one, and this is this three can belong to company two that partner with company one to access to provide a service to them. So to provide the service, they allow to login credentials that they use to enter in the website of company one and retrieve or even key in some information. They could be maybe data entry people. They could be a data analyst that go into reports or prepare reports or even do auditing on company one. So that's all possible. Okay. So now we move to PAN. Did you hear about it before?
A PAN, yeah, personal access network.
Okay. So if we are using Bluetooth to connect to devices in a small room or small area, so that is what we call PAN. And either use Bluetooth or even wireless in a small area or in a car. Also, it's an example of that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let me see what else we have here. Peer-to-peer, did you hear about it before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, tell me what is an example of P2P?
Well, there's like, well, the peer-to-peer networks I've like most heard of are the ones like earlier back in like the 2000s when like people like shared like music files and things like that. They're like P2P networks.
Yes, exactly. So they connect together without a server. Do you know,
Yes.
is it YouTube is using a server or directly? So if I want to see a YouTube video, do I see it on other people PC or I need to connect to a server to be able to see it?
YouTube has servers. It's a centralized network.
Okay, perfect. And Google is the same?
Uh, yes,
Facebook is
Google
the
as well.
same?
Yeah.
What about WhatsApp messages? Are we able to communicate directly or there is a server in the middle?
Well, I mean, from what I know, it isn't decentralized.
Yes, it is. Yes, you said it is not decentralized, right? So it means
Yes.
it is centralized, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So definitely there is a server in the middle, and they gather all our information and they pass it through AI systems that detect what we are writing, so that they know what we are thinking of, and then they start showing us ads based on on the information that we are providing to them. Okay, so yes, that is what they do. Um, Now I want to understand from you, why do you think that we need to have a network standard, um, and why is it important?
Well, you can't You can't like communicate effectively. There's not like proper compatibility unless there is like a proper standard for everything to adhere to.
Yes, that is excellent answer. And yeah, okay. So it means that somehow the communication will break down if there is no standard, right? So
Yes.
different networks will not be able to talk together. So now, what is an example of free medium? Is that, sorry, not free medium, transmission medium. So internet
Ex
or networks have transmission media. What is an
yes.
example?
Just like cables in general. So like, I mean, there's a lot of different types, but for example, fiber optic.
Twisted pairs, did you hear about them?
Yes, and coaxial. Yeah, I've heard of those as well. Yes.
Okay, and okay, now if you look at this UTP, can you recognize it?
Yes.
So the cost of that UTP cables is actually quite cheap. So that can be only £1 per meter, or even I believe I think I bought 10-meter cables for maybe 15, maybe 20 to 30 ringgit, I believe. So that's quite cheap, right?
Yes.
And they can transfer, that transfer speed is 100 megabit per second to even 1 gigabit per second, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we are able to use encryption using on UTP or no?
Uh, yes, you can. Yes, you can use it. Yes.
Okay, and what about the reliable? Is it reliable to use that kind of cables? Did you hear about electromagnetic interference? Do you know what is that?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I put electrical cable beside the UGB cable, it will be affected. Am I right?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can interfere with the signals. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And now let us have a look at this kind of. This is how the fiber optic cables looks like. So can you recognize that this kind of cables have a higher speed but comes with a higher cost?
Yes. Yes.
So actually, this cable is fragile, so it can be easily damaged. That's why there is a lot of shielding around that cables. And do you see, or do you notice that the price difference here
Yes.
between 1 meter of fiber optic and UTP? And do you notice also the higher speed?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to tell you that this kind of cable is high secure because even a UTP cable can be tapped upon, and people can start spying on a UTP cable, but this can be very difficult to be done with a fiber optic cable. You cannot break all this, and because the information is passing inside as a light, it's not as electricity or as a signal in like UTP. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, and what about the Wi-Fi?
Just like comparisons or just like describing it.
Describing it. So in terms of security,
Yeah.
reliability, and the cost and the speed.
Well, so first of all, security, because it's a wireless connection, it's comparatively less secure than the connections that we mentioned before, but you can make use of encryption to make it more secure and
Okay, perfect.
reliability. Uh, if there's like other wireless signals, then it can like interfere with each other. And
Okay, excellent.
cost, because it uses airwaves that already exist, but it's in that regard, it's essentially free. And then in speed, it's moderately fast, so it's not as fast as physical mediums, but it's still able to, but it's still relatively quick. So here it says from 5 megabytes per second to 200 per second.
So it is even slower than the wired and even the
Yes,
fiber, right?
yes,
Okay. So I will continue the remaining tomorrow, but I would like to highlight one thing to you here is that I will give you that that exercise as a homework. Is it possible I can do that?
Yes.
Okay, so and that is talking about divisors, and it's talking about pseudocode. So he defined here the divisor of 10 as 1, 2, 5, and 10. And he defines a proper divisor of 10 as 1, 2, and 5. So that is all the numbers that can be divided by 5 and doesn't give any decimal points as a result, but not including the number itself. Okay, so he would like to have an expression, and he's using x and y here as two integers. So you need to create a logical expression that evaluates to true if x is a proper divisor of y and false otherwise. So you need to think of something that do this. And what else I would say? So look at this, construct a subprogram in pseudocode that accepts an integer and returns the sum of all the proper divisors of n. So for example, this sumpd pseudocode function or a method or function returns 15. 15 is 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8, which is a proper divisor of 16. So you notice here 16 is not part of the proper divisors returned here.
Yes.
Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Can you do something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, then see you next time.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Take care.